What's going on, everyone? In today's video, I'm here with Romer the Romer, Avery Martin. He's discussed how he sold $80,000 in books his first year selling on Amazon. And there they are right there. They're actually books that he thrifted. And I don't know, hopefully we can put some screenshots of him in his, I don't know, he had a Toyota Corolla or
Yep.
what, some sort of
Yeah, we'll get
small
him up
car with
there.
a canoe on the back of your car. So
Yep.
with that, welcome to the channel. What's going on, man?
What's up? So yeah, that was my journey, man. Selling used books was the only thing that worked for me starting out. I tried selling like a knife sharpener on eBay, and then immediately got my eBay account shut down because it had like honey on it, and I sold it for like $4, shipped it to the customer. The customer was like, "There's honey on this knife sharpener. What the heck?" And then they filed a complaint. My account was shut down.
Wow.
Then in college, I sold textbooks. I sold my textbooks, my friends' textbooks. And I remember like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad or something. I saw those 4 quadrants and I
Right.
was like, this Amazon thing's kind of like what he's talking about. Like I'm not necessarily, I'm trading my time for money, but I have like a little bit of leverage. And it just felt like, okay, I'm building a business. And then I tried affiliate marketing. I tried all these ways of making money online, but the only thing that ever worked for me was used books. So when I saw Reezy Resells and Caleb Roth on YouTube, I came across their videos because I just needed to know how to prep an Amazon FBA shipment. So I was like just watching their videos on how to send a shipment from school to Amazon. But then I kept seeing Reezy like going to thrift stores and stuff. And I was like, this is a complete scam. Like I literally was like, this is like, why is this guy making videos about him going? And like, it just didn't make sense to me. But then one day I was like, Caleb made a blog post and I'm like, Caleb seems like a really smart guy. Like, why is like, how many people are doing this? And Caleb made a blog post about how he went to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled his phone out with his wife and literally they both scanned books all day with their phone. And he did this all weekend and made $5,000 profit in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he drove from Denver, Colorado to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and made $5,000. And I'm like, if he did that, then like, even if I do a tenth of that in a weekend, like I would be happy.
Right.
And so I came up with the idea. I was following this girl named Hobo Alley, this little Asian girl, and she was living in her van. She was a van life girl. And so I combined the two ideas. I was like, she's living in her van on like $7,000 a year was her budget.
That's crazy.
This guy made $5,000 in a weekend. Like the math just worked out.
Right.
And so I took my smartphone and I downloaded Scout IQ. Actually, at the time it was FBA Scan was the name of the app. And I would go to thrift stores and libraries and just scan hundreds of books every day. Went to the Grand Canyon, Pacific Coast Highway. The whole point of the trip was to travel the country. But during the day, I would go to thrift stores, I would scan books and then pack shipments to Amazon FBA. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like if a book turned green, I was grabbing it and I was shipping it out. Like to me, I already made the money. Like the moment that book turned green, I'm like, I already got $10 in my bank account. Like my phone told me I did, and luckily with books, even if you make bad purchasing decisions, it doesn't matter too much because your investment's $1 or $2. Right. So did that for like 3 months. And that was how I started. And then, the next year after that, I think I did 350,000 in sales. Like it just kept growing and growing and growing. And now, I got my Amazon business doing like 100K every 30 days. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I think is really clever in kind of all the book selling boot camps that you do is you talk about this idea of needing a competitive advantage, right? So you have multiple competitive advantages there. One being you can literally be at any thrift store at any time all across the country. But can you talk a little bit more about getting that backroom access, how to approach, coming into a Goodwill or a mom and pop thrift store and like telling them, hey, I plan to resell your books, but I want this to be a win-win for both of us. How does that?
Yeah. So I didn't know about that until like late 2018. So like all 2018 was the year I did 80,000 in sales. And I literally just went to thrift stores and libraries. But then I think Reezy was the one that talked about library sales. I was like, wait, what are library sales? And library sales changed the game. Like library sales are basically libraries will put raw, fresh, donated books from the general public, rich people donating their books, and then they'll let us come in and scan them as fast as we can. You can make $1,000 profit in a day. It's ridiculous. I didn't know about that. So I started doing that after I met Reezy and Caleb out, and they did an event called Turn the Page in LA. And then Reezy was always talking about backroom access. I was like, let me give this a go. And I think it was actually in December of 2018, me and Andrew Gong, another kid I met at the book selling meetup, I flew to Portland, Maine, had a little bit of money. So I stayed in Airbnbs this trip. Me and him, we went from Portland, Maine, all the way down to Washington, D.C. And we sourced 2,000 books in 2 weeks, which equated to like $14,000 in profit. And a big part of us having success there was, number one, like the books are just insane in the Northeast. But number two, we asked for backroom access at every single place we went to.
Wow.
So like practically the first thing we would do when we walked in the store was we'd say, hey, do you guys have books in the back? Like we wouldn't even look at the books in the front first. Like we would literally just go, and if they would let us in the back, we'd go scan the books in the back first because the books in the back are always better.
Right.
And literally you just ask, you're like, hey, you can call yourself a bulk bookseller. You can call yourself just call it how it is. Like you're a bookseller, you're going to make money online. You're going to buy a bunch of books from them. Books aren't trash to them, but books take up a lot of space. They're a nuisance. They have to carry them and stuff. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to buy several boxes of books, usually they're pretty happy. And I would say like we got backroom access like 50% of the time or more.
Wow. Okay, that was my question now. 50%, that's pretty crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and it's not even
like sure, come back. Just scan all the books.
Yeah, it's like crazy. Yeah, it was, and I think it's how you do it too. I think it's mainly in how you like the energy behind it. Like,
right.
It's like I've done this before. You have to have that I've done this before type energy.
Right.
And even if you haven't, just go up and be like, hey, can I look at the books in the back? And a lot of times like, oh, let me ask the manager or let me do this or that. And they'll let you back there most of the time, especially if it's like a mom and pop store. Goodwill's, maybe like there's like a whole like what's the word for it? Like district of Goodwills that have a policy that you can't go in the back room. That's pretty common at Goodwill's, but maybe Savers do let you go in. Maybe almost every mom and pop will let you go in because do they want more money? Obviously they do. So they'll let you in, Libraries, same concept. Libraries have ongoing library sales, but they oftentimes have, a huge room, a closet filled with donated books in the back. So,
right. Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, I don't even think you were presenting them with a business card or a brand or anything, right? You was like straight up asking. So that's the first place to start. But I'm sure having that sort of, image probably doesn't hurt either.
It probably doesn't. But I'd say like the most important thing, like, and we've learned this as YouTube, I guess you could call us influencers or internet marketers, whatever you want to call us, is like something I learned by, teaching information online is you need to take people's information. You need their email, you need their phone number. This is how I sell Miami Sellers Conference. I get everybody's email and I contact them over and over and over again until they show up. Right. Use that same concept with thrift stores. Get all their numbers once a week, text them, make sure they're doing okay, bring them coffee. Like it's going to feel cheesy as hell. Like I don't like giving gifts if it's not like authentic. So I really had trouble doing this starting out, but just do it. Like feel good about giving someone coffee. Like feel in your heart. This is like, this person wants coffee, even though it feels like you're bribing them because you kind of are, it actually works. And so build those relationships, text the people, once a week. Like this is like extremely underrated advice that nobody does. But if you have every thrift store manager's phone number in your city, every library, friends of the library president, and you text them every week, like you're going to go way beyond books if you're that business savvy to do that. Like this is just the beginning for you, but not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely takes courage to do that. And people probably have a lot of anxiety in order to do that or like in order to try that. But there's no way that you would be unsuccessful if you had every store manager's phone number.
I almost have this like attitude when it comes to this, that unless you've done several book deals that are so big that you have to carry literal 100-pound boxes of books out like all day, which I've done multiple times, you start to look at books differently. Right. Like you realize how big of a problem the books are for them because their employees have to move them. They might have to move them. And so once you have that attitude towards books, that this is a problem for them, it really opens up, your freedom of being like, hey, look, do you want me to buy these books or not?
Right. So how come you never decide to go into bulk books then? Because obviously you're going to have a flood of all these books. Why not decide to go a bulk book route?
I tried. I got a few Gaylords here in Nashville. I got a storage unit, but that coincided. I was actually watching this video today on my YouTube channel. I went back. I don't do that too often, but I don't watch my videos all day by myself. But I actually watched this one, and I was like doing bulk books, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm here in the warehouse, right, or storage unit. I got all these pallets, and like, but I was like, I have a business called Restricted Inventory and it's kind of working out and it's taken off. I don't think I'm going to do this anymore." It's like, that was like the start of restrictedinventory.com was when I was in the storage unit. I just never I didn't have a good enough source. I was way overly ambitious about how much I could delegate. So I would just load the storage unit up with pallets of books and I'd hire some random person and I'd pay him like $12 an hour. And then like I would go negative cash flow. I probably ended up making my money back, but it was just like I was just dishing out way too much cash. Right. I was just like, I was reading all these business books that you should never do any like manual labor yourself. So
It's funny because you also transition. I'm not sure exactly where we are now in terms of the year, but I know you also did a lot of like college campus buyouts, which is
yeah,
totally next level. Like the most I ever did on my college campus was go to the clearance aisle because they had my school had a clearance section where they would just clearance books off that were
yeah,
worth $80 and sell them for $20. But I never like actually talked to anyone. Can you talk about how to get your foot in the door with college book buyouts and stuff like
yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure. So like, I think it's Steve Jobs says the best ideas are stolen. And I met somebody at a book selling conference, and you go around like Miami Sellers Conference. You ask, hey, how much you doing in sales? Blah blah blah. You never know what they're going to say. They might say 3,000 a month. They might say 30,000. This guy said 300,000 a month. And my
Sheesh.
ears perked up. I'm having my drinks or whatever, and I'm like, how is this guy doing 300K a month? And he was doing buyouts, college buyouts. So he texted me like a few weeks later. He looked at me as just like manual labor essentially, and he was like, hey, can you help me do this job? I ended up negotiating my way into a profit share because I'm like, I'm not going to go do all this work for you if I don't get profit. I still probably got screwed out of the situation. I only got like 40% profit, but we were clearing like 20 grand profit at these colleges. So, I
Wow.
mean, in terms of getting those deals, it just comes down to, look for colleges closing down. You can Google it. When you find it out, contact the president, contact the owner, contact. Those are really the main two. Like if you can find who owns the school or the
Right.
president, like some director of some sort, like
Right.
just start like the librarian, just contact everybody. And just realize like what I said earlier, like the whole reason why I was carrying 100-pound books out of places because I was doing this. Just realize like don't accept to take all of a college's books when you realize they have 100,000 books and it's your responsibility to take all of them out.
That's crazy.
The better deal is, hey, I'll pay you a premium for the books I want. I'll pay you $5 a book just for the
Right.
books I want, and then go in there and pay $5 for books that are going to net you over $10.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are tons of books out there, especially on college campuses, because those textbooks are expensive. One other tip for you guys as well: a lot of the professors on campus as well have bookshelves literally overrun with books that they need to get
Mm-hmm.
rid of. And again, this is getting that territory of thinking outside the box. I mean, getting the emails of the professors at any school is not difficult at all. You can literally just send an email to every single one of them, tell them what
That's
you
very
do,
true.
and say, hey, I'm looking to, I'm here to help you out, help solve your problem, get rid of some books. We can get them in the hands of, however you want to say it. But that's also another way that you can do it.
Honestly,
So
like some of the easiest money to be had, and nobody wants to do this. And I never hear my students or audience ever reach out to me about these things. Like they're awesome, but they take balls.
right.
And I honestly think the easiest money to be had is just to go to your college, put a backpack on. Hopefully you look young enough to be on a college campus, but if you don't, screw it.
Mm-hmm.
Go knock on every professor's door. They're going to look at you weird, have some cash in your hand and say, hey, I'm looking for books you're not using. Make sure to say that. Remind them the books are not being used. I'm looking for books that are not being used. I'm just paying some cash.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, they'll get all weird about it. And like, all right, I got a closet. And you'll go scan it. And they'll have a bunch of $200 profit books just piled up that they were never going to use. And you offer them $20 for like $2,000 worth of books and you'll walk out. You don't have to go that low. I go 25%. I will actually pay, if a book's $100 sales price, I'll pay $25 for it. Because if it's on a college campus, it's probably a pretty fast circulating book. But what you will find is a lot of these professors don't want the money because they didn't pay for the books themselves.
They feel weird about it.
They know they're never going to use the books. They know that you'll sell the books. They know that you'll get the books back into the hands of the reader. And so they'll just give you the closet filled with books.
Yo, absolutely. It's crazy, right? Because they feel weird about accepting money for these
the easiest money to be had that nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to go learn online arbitrage or this or that, or go to thrift stores or, start a business. Like literally just go knock on professors' doors. But like, it's so uncomfortable. I understand why people don't want to do it because you're probably going to get like laughed at. Oh, you're not allowed to be on campus. Like that will happen, and like, if you're not ready for that,
Absolutely. Another major tip here, and this is kind of what I did when I was getting my master's degree. When I cash flowed my master's degree, is there is 2 different textbook exchange groups on my college campus that I was literally in, refreshing the feed like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, like in between classes or whenever I had free time. And I would literally pick up like 10, 12, 15 books per day. And you're right, books are freaking heavy, especially when you have to carry them like, a third of a mile or half a mile to the parking lot. They get heavy quick. So we just shared, I don't know how many secret tips there, but there's
a lot.
Literally, you could pick any one of those lanes and go full out, and you could probably do really, really well.
Yeah, if any of you guys actually make real money doing this, because there's got to be at least one person out there that's taking action on those things. Like, and you can make a lot of money doing it. Like, I just please reach out to me, because nobody's ever reached out to me like, hey, I just made 10 grand out of college. Like, I would love for somebody to reach out to me and tell me that, or just contact me. I'll help you.
Yeah. And then one other tip is also don't forget high school. So my high school just replaced the math curriculum, and they literally just threw away like 300 books in the dumpster. So those are books that still hold value. So you could also do the same thing, reach out to high schools that aren't necessarily closing down, but you can say, here's what I do. We take books off your hands if you are, using new curriculum and, whatever. But so many tips there. So anyways, I hope this video helped you guys out. We should, Avery showed us how he started with books and how he kind of started thinking outside the box to start scaling his revenue. But there's so many ideas here. Hopefully you guys take action on them. And of course, if none of that works out, you always got online book arbitrage with me. So that's all I got. Thanks so much, Avery, and I'll see you
much easier. You can just do it from home.
Yeah, exactly. All right, see you. Peace.